the University Church of St. Mary's, he intoned his lament for his dying comrade.
Friends, or especially gifted men who seem in their day the earthly support of the church, are taken away for some purpose surely. Their contemplations, sanctity of their desires, the vigor of their faith, the sweetness and gentleness of their affections were not given without an object.
Mosley described Newman's appearance as
terribly thin, his countenance dark and wasted, but with brilliancy of expression and a grace of outline which justified all that his friends had said of him.
Newman saw his friend for the last time at Dartington.
I left and took my last farewell of R.H.F. on Sunday, October 11th, 1836 in the evening. When I took leave of him, his face lighted up and almost shone in the darkness, as if to say that in this world we were parting forever.
Newman wrote 2 farewells to his friend. The poem entitled Separation was first written by Newman after his Mediterranean journey. The last 12 lines were added on to Froude's passing.
Do not their souls, who 'neath the altar wait until their second birth, the gift of patience need as separate from their first friends of earth? Not that earth's blessings are not all outshone by Eden's age-old flame, but that earth knows not yet the dead had won that crown which was his aim. For when he left it, 'twas a twilight scene about his silent bier, a breathless struggle, faith and sight between, and hope and sacred fear. Fear startled at his pains and dreary end. Hope raised her chalice high, and the twin sisters still his shade attend, viewed in the mourner's eye. So day by day for him from earth ascends, as dew in summer even, the speechless intercession of his friends toward the azure heaven. Ah, dearest, with a word he could dispel all questioning and raise our hearts to rapture, whispering all is well, and turning prayer to praise. And other secrets too he could declare, by patterns all divine, his earthly creed retouching here and there, and deepening every line. Dearest, he longs to speak as I to know, and yet we both refrain. It were not good, a little doubt below, and all will soon be plain.
This plaintive cry from the heart was matched by Newman in the parting of friends, his farewell sermon to the Church of England. Froude had left the scene earlier, fallen in the fight, and he was not there to share his friend's exile. Newman felt his absence keenly.
What was David's grief when he saw the last of him whose soul had from the first been knit with his soul, so that he loved him as his own soul? I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan, he says. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women. What woe was upon that young man of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to, and cunning in playing, and a mighty valiant man, a man of war, and prudent in matters, when his devoted, affectionate, loyal friend, who these good gifts have gained, looked upon him for the last time. Oh, hard destiny, except that the all-merciful so willed it that such companions might not walk in the house of God as friends. David must flee to the wilderness. Jonathan must pine in his father's hall. Jonathan must share that stern father's death in battle. And David must ascend the vacant throne.
At the moment when Froude seemed lost to his friends, Dr. Pusey became one of the central figures in the Oxford movement. He was already a friend of Newman's. His university professorship and his social status as the younger son of a well-known country family gave him a prestige that made him a powerful ally. Pusey was in almost all things the extreme opposite of Froude. His characteristic qualities, his learning, his orthodoxy, his gravity, his solidity were heavy qualities. Even Isaac Williams, who was not himself frivolous, found himself
silenced by so awful a person. His presence always checked Newman's lighter and unrestrained mood.
But in spite of the added strengths of their new leader in the movement, the tide seemed to have turned against the Friends. Newman had asserted that Froude was taken away for some purpose surely. Shortly after his death, his private papers, known to history as Froude's Remains, were published by Keble and Newman. What his friends found attractive in his writing appeared repulsive to those who had never known Froude. Listen to Bishop Sam Wilberforce.
Read a little of Froude's journals. They will exceedingly discredit church principles and show an amazing want of Christianity so far.
An Oxford evangelical remarked that
they cannot but fill the heart of every true Christian with horror, and his eyes with tears. They afford evidences of what the human mind, even with all the advantages of natural talent and education, may be brought to when not guided by light which is from above.
Pearl Froude seemed more alive than ever, stirring up controversy, cutting through earth and nature like uncongenial steel. Hard upon this tactical error of publishing their friends' private papers without first giving his living spirit as preface, came the personal loss of Dr. Pusey's domestic happiness, the death of his wife. The Friends rallied around their stricken colleague in his hour of need.
Letter from John Henry Newman to Dr. Pusey. The Feast of the Holy Trinity, May 26, 1839. My dear Pusey, this, you will see, requires no answer. I have nothing to say, only I wish you to remember that many persons are thinking of you and making mention of you where you wish to be mentioned. Do not fear you will not be strengthened according to your day. He is nearest when it seems furthest away. I heard from Keble a day or two since, and he wished me to tell you they were thinking of you at Hursley. This is a day especially sacred to peace, the day of the eternal Trinity, who were all blessed from eternity in themselves, and in the thought of whom the mind sees the end of its labors and end of its birth, temptations, struggles, and sacrifices, its daily dyings and resurrections. Ever yours affectionately, John Henry Newman.
Pusey answered immediately.
My dear friend, my dear wife is now approaching the end of her earthly life. By tomorrow's sun she will be, by God's mercy in Christ, where there is no need of the sun. Will you pray for me that she may many have in this life some foretaste of the future joy as well as peace? Ever your very affectionate friend, B.B. Pusey.
When all was over, Lady Pusey, with the true instinct of a mother, knew that what would best help her son, and against his first wish, sent for Newman. The following letter to Keble describes the visit.
June 5th, 1839. My dear friend, I thank you much for the soothing note which you have just sent me, as well as for your past and present remembrance of us. One does feel in these times something of the communion of saints, only she is purified, I not. God has been very merciful to me in this dispensation and carried me on step by step in a way I dared not hope. He sent Newman to me, who I saw at my mother's wish, against my inclination, in the first hour of sorrow, and it was like the visit of an angel. I hope to go on my way lonely, not forlorn. With every good wish for you and yours, your very affectionate and grateful friend, B.B. Pusey.
The final blow came in the winter of 1841 with the publication of the famous Tract 90, Reverend R.W. Church to John Henry Newman.
My dear Newman, the heads met today, sure enough to discuss number 90. It seems that nothing was done today for two reasons. One, that they had a good deal of other business, and two, that many or most of the assembly had not yet read the said tract. However, they were very fierce against it and against the tracts in general, against which they have seemed to have declared war to the knife.
Pusey liked the beginning very much, but asked Newman to qualify an admission contained in the tract that one
only religious community practically in possession of this something is the Church of Rome.
Newman's statement was indeed startling. He wrote that
the age is moving towards something, and most unhappily, the one religious communion among us which has of late years been in possession of this something is the Church of Rome. She alone, amid all the errors and evils of her practical system, has given free scope to the feelings of awe, mystery, tenderness, reverence, devotedness, and other feelings which may be especially called Catholic. The question then is whether we shall give them up to the Roman Church or claim them for ourselves, as we well may, by reverting to that older system, which has of late years indeed been superseded, but which has been and is quite congenial to our church.
in a private note for his own reference, Newman wrote emphatically,
I did mean this. It was always a wonder to me that Pusey wished me to cut out my concluding words of number 90, which were necessary for my position. I always said the article framers were double-tongued or I said in these last words that it was the article framers.
The Bishop of Oxford, however, decided on the suppression of the tract, leaving Newman without support in his own church. The world of Oxford watched to see if the condemnation would push him Romewards. This threat of exile was sounded again in his final Anglican sermon, The Parting of Friends, as the preacher took up the biblical story of Naomi.
So it had been with Naomi, though she was not quitting, but returning to her home, and going not to a land of famine, but of plenty. In a time of distress, she had left her country and found friends and made relatives among the enemies of her people. And when her husband and children died, Moabitish women, who had once been the stumbling block of Israel, became the support and comfort of her widowhood. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. Forlorn widow, great was the struggle in her bosom. Whither shall she do? Leave behind her the 2 heathen women in widowhood and weakness like herself, her soul stay the shadows of departed blessings? Or shall she selfishly take them as fellow sufferers who could not be protesters? Shall she seek sympathy where she cannot gain help? Shall she deprive them of a home when she has none to supply? So she said, Go. Return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. Perplexed Naomi, torn with contrary feelings, which chide her more, Orpah, who left her, or Ruth, who remained? Orpah, who was a pain, or Ruth, who was a charge.
In a private letter to Pusey, Newman echoed this sermon when he wrote,
The loss of friends, what a great evil is this. The loss of position, of name, of esteem. Such a stultification of myself, such a triumph to others. What pierces me? The disturbance of mind which a change on my part would cause to so many, the casting adrift, the loss both of religious stability and comfort. But it does strike me on the other side. What if you are the cause of souls dying out of communion of Rome who have had a call to join it, which you have repressed? What is the will of Providence about me?
It was 2 years before he finally saw the will of Providence. He rehearsed the feelings and thoughts he had at deciding to go into exile in the novel Loss and Gain.
I am going to a church which is the continuation of the apostolic church, if it has ever been continued at all. And seeing it to be like the apostolic church, I believe it to be the same. Reason has gone first. faith is to follow.
Having taken that action, there remained little to do but take his leave of the Oxford he loved. In his novel, Newman gives us the conversation that might have taken place between himself and his friends, that one true band of holy brethren.
Well, we must part. It must be going on for 7.
He pulled out of his pocket a small copy of the Christian Year.
You have often seen me with this. Accept it in memory of me. You will not see me, but here is a pledge that I will not forget you, that I will ever remember you. It was very hard to leave you all, to go to strangers. I do not wish it, but I cannot help it. I am called. I am compelled. All is well. All is well, but it's hard at the time, and scarcely anyone to feel for me. Black looks, bitter words. I am pleasing myself, following my own will. Well, it must be through tribulation to the kingdom, sowing in tears, reaping in joy. Oh, I fear so very much that all you who do not come forward will go back. You cannot stand where you are. For a time you will think you do. Then you will oppose us, and still think you keep your ground, while you use the same words as before. But your belief, your opinions will decline. You will hold less. And then in time, it will strike you that, in differing with Protestants, you are contending only about words. They call us rationalists. Take care you don't fall into liberalism. And now my one friend in Oxford, who was patient and loving towards me, goodbye. May we meet not long hence in peace and joy. I cannot go to you. You must come to me.
The final paragraph of the Parting of Friends is a lovely hymn to friendship founded upon the love of God.
And, O my brethren, O kind and affectionate hearts, O loving friends, should you know anyone whose lot it has been, by writing or by word of mouth, in some degree to help you thus to act, if he has ever told you what you know about yourselves, or what you did not know, had read to you your wants or feelings, and comforted you by that very reading, has made you feel that there was a higher life than this daily one, and a brighter world than that you see, or encouraged you, or sobered you, or opened a way to the inquiring, or soothed the perplexed. If what he has said or done has ever made you take interest in him and feel well inclined toward him, remember such a one in time to come, though you hear him not, and pray for him, that in all things he may know God's will, and at all times he may be ready to fulfill it.